proportions of ingredients are 3 flour, 2 milk, 1 sugar and a little bit of salt, and then whatever amount of cinnamon or raisins I decide to add to the final mix. And this is going to be a dry mix, so what I'm going to do here is, I know that the bags I'm going to be using, I don't want a great big sealed bag, so I don't want a huge amount of mix. I want just enough to make me a reasonable sized loaf. Now from that I'm going to use something like 3 half spoons of flour, like so, then 2 halves of milk and 1 half of sugar. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of salt in as well. You don't need a huge amount. To this mix as well I'm going to flavour it with some raisins. This makes a delicious bread actually when you add raisins. That's going to be this particular mix. Literally going to mix it all in by hand. And then this is going to go into a vacuum bag, be sealed up, be labelled up and dated, and put on my shelf of supplies, and then it's ready to take with me if ever I go out hiking. On the spur of the moment I've got food to take with me. That's our mix, simple as that. Next move I make is just using the vacuum bag sealer. I won't be needing huge size bags for this, because remember I'm going to be using these for hiking. So I'm going to be using a bag around about that size, that's about 8-inch square. Now I'm using the Andrew James vacuum sealer here. And the first thing I'm doing is sealing up the end of the bag. That will give me one sealed edge. I'm then going to transfer my mix into that. We're ready to go. Okay, so there we have it, perfectly sealed. Here's my dry mix. Now I want this as thin as, pretty much like an envelope really, because this will actually fit into the mat pocket of your trousers if need be. And it weighs next to nothing. And now I'm going to vacuum and seal, taking all the air out. And there we have it. One Bannock mix sealed, and weighs literally less than an envelope. Now I'm going to write on here the actual mix, be a Bannock mix with raisins. I'll put one man mix because it's going to make one portion of bread, and I'll put the date that I made it and sealed it, and that's going to be stored away with my provisions. Now I could realistically make, you're getting a pile this high, you've got to have 25, 30 plus mixes there. From a prepping point of view, very, very minimal storage space for a maximum shelf life food, and it's going to give you, if you had one a day, you know, that's a month there in something this sort of size. The old vacuum sealer is definitely worth getting. But now that we've got our Bannock mix, I'm just going to mix it up and actually make a small loaf to see, so you can see the amount that these ingredients actually make. So this is another Bannock mix that I've just made up, and rather than use the vacuum sealer to put the mix in for storage, I'm using a resealable bag here. The Ziploc bags or the reseal bags work just as well as one another, and I'm going to pour the mix into here and then simply flatten it down, get all the air out of it and seal it up. So I've got here now my mix ready to actually take with me right away or in the next couple of days. A small amount of water, don't go mad. And that's all we need. It'll start to mix together now. Remember, I'm just making one portion for one person to have with a meal. Now you'll see various people will say mix it this way, mix it that way, don't roll it, don't do this, don't use a spoon, use your fingers, all sorts of things. Really, with this type of mix, you could mix it up in a concrete mixer and it'll still come out okay. Like I've said, there are dozens of ways to do it, so it's whatever you find works best for you. And for this particular one, because I'm making like a scone mix, this is going to be best for me. That's all I'm doing. That's all you need to do. Now we're going to transfer it over to the cooker now, and we're going to start to bake it. Now the one thing I must say is you don't want a huge amount of heat. If you're cooking over an open fire, you really don't want to be over the flames, you don't want to be over the red hot coals, you want to be to the side and just pick up like the residue heat of the fire. But for the purpose of this demonstration, you see I'm touching that, that's warm, it's just getting a bit hot now. Now one thing I am going to do is I'm going to flatten it out a bit. Yeah. As I say, this is for one person, just to have with a meal, and the thinner you get it, obviously, the quicker it's going to cook, but the more evenly it's going to cook as well. If you make it up to the size of like a traditional loaf, then you know you're going to have problems gauging when it's actually cooked inside. And what happens is you'll cook it and it'll look like it's cooked and finished on the outside, but in effect when you open it up it'll still be very, very doughy, similar to this on the inside, and obviously that's not really what you want. Okay, so let's see how we're doing now. Ooh, lovely. This is why you want the slow heat. You do not want that to burn. If you leave it on a hot heat, the surface will definitely burn. And you want the heat to gradually seep right through to the middle. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it over once again, see how we're doing. That's just starting to, should we say, crisp up, which is exactly what we want. So it's cooking nicely from both sides. A slow heat, just let it do its own thing, cook naturally through from both sides. So here we go. It can't be far out there now. It's actually very, very hot to touch. Too hot to hold actually. I'll leave that a couple more minutes just to go golden, same as this side, and I think that was going to be perfect. The way to test this is you tear it apart, and if it breaks, let me get this as close as possible. Put that there. And as it breaks, you can see it tears. There we are. And that's a sign of it's fully cooked. Now the raisins are all the way through, which is nice. See how that's tearing? That means it's cooked fully all the way through. There's no gooey bits in the middle still. Okay, now the secret of any cooking is in the taste. So let's just try a little bit. Oh man, this is delicious. Especially with these raisins in it. Now the consistency of bannock, you don't want some light fluffy mess. You want it to be solid so that you're actually chewing, your body feels like it's eating. And this is delicious. The 3-2-1 mix that I used, handful of raisins, and cooking it slowly, turning both sides so the heat goes through to the middle and it cooks evenly, that's probably the secret. And it's simple. So what I suggest is you get your cooking gloves on and you try it and you practice and you see what you can do. You make yourself some supplies for your prepping stores, you make yourself some supplies to go out when you're practicing any prepping procedures, hiking, trekking, whatever, and you take this with you. Because if you've been out on a hard day's hiking and you stop, you get a nice campfire going and you bake yourself some of this, man, you're going to be a very happy person at the end of the day. This is delicious. So folks, that's it for today, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.